you've accomplished all this stuff in your life, been super successful before the age of 30, and now you're like ripping the Band-Aid off and starting over.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's interesting because not to kind of go back on my career, but I think, I achieved what I did when I was 18 years old, and it was a lifelong dream. But then 4 years later, I tried to make a second Olympic team, and on my very best event, the uneven bars, I fell face first. And I remember laying there, on the mat, and all of a sudden I remember thinking, you're the reigning Olympic all-around champion, all these eyes are on you, 20,000 people in the arena, plus millions watching back around the entire world, and you just embarrassed yourself, and you failed, and you're not going to make this Olympic team. And so then I remember thinking, my parents always told me, no matter what you do, you have to finish what you've started. And that's like... It's through the disappointment, it's through the failure. And in the moment, I didn't realize how big of a lesson that would be as I kind of move on in my life. But I finished that routine, I landed on my feet, and for the first time in my entire career, I had a standing ovation.
That's crazy. Even when you had won before.
I won the Olympic all-around gold medal, and nobody was on their feet. And so when I had the worst routine of my entire career, 20,000 people were on their feet. And so, again, in that moment, I had no idea why this was. I was like, you guys sit down. That was really bad. You shouldn't even be cheering for me. I was so embarrassed. And then...
But that's when you were a true winner, right?
Yeah, and I think, my entire life... My mentality was always people aren't going to support you, people aren't going to love you unless you win the gold medal, unless you come out, on top, unless you, are the best student, you make the most money, you make, success. What is success? And for me, that's kind of what I defined it as. And so that moment for me has just really kind of proved to me that, there's so many parts of success, and winning that medal, yes, that was, a piece of success, but you can have, more pieces of success, and you can move on from that. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do, is not look back at my life. And as you said, when I'm not yet 30, but when I'm 40, 50, 60 years old, I don't want to think that the only thing that I did while it was amazing was, win that gold medal at 18.
So you don't want to be the rest of your life you're on the speaking circuit talking about 2008.
Yeah. And it's I do speaking engagements, and so I've really, at first, right after I won, that's what my speech was about. It was winning that gold medal, and I recently did one last week in South Dakota, and it was just I've really altered, my story and my mentality, because it's and that's what I say when I get up there. I'm I'm sure you're all thinking I'm going to tell you about, how I won that gold medal, my journey to becoming a 5-time Olympic medalist, but that's not who I am. It was, I feel for so long I let that define who I was, and I realized those medals, yes, they're mine and they're sitting in a safe in Texas, but they don't define me as a person.
You were talking about earlier, after that you went back to college.
Yeah,
and you just
which was hard.
Started over again.
Yeah, it was so hard. But I think that's what I wanted, because I felt in the moment, for 22 years of my life, gymnastics defined who I was as a person, and I had no idea what my passions were, who I was as a person, what I wanted to do. And so I think by moving to New York, going to NYU, just meeting so many amazing people, and taking classes that I was super interested in, and even the ones that I really wasn't interested in but you had to do, it just really opened up my mind to so many different things, and really made me realize that there is life beyond gymnastics and sports.